You know who you are, the guy who never puts down his sword. The guy who kills dragons and merchants all the same. You're the Brawler. When the mayor asks you to deal with their goblin problem, you kill those goblins. And then the mayor, and his family, and the horses the goblins were stealing. You only brought 2 dice to the table today, a d20 to hit things and a d12 to hurt things. Your character sheet just has your health and damage on it, because who needs traits and bonds? Nobody! If someone asks you what matters most to you, you punch them. For a playstyle like yours, classes like Fighter, Barbarian, Paladin, and Hexblade will get the job done. When the party talks down a corrupt king, you've got your initiative dice in one hand and Excalibur in the other. For those of you who have a brawler in your party, let them take the lead in battle. They've got a plan to take down every living thing, and they'll sooner die at the table than lose a fight. This doesn't mean they deserve your utmost respect, but maybe tone down on giving them orders during combat. Now by far, as a brawler, your greatest strength is the fact that you aren't careful. Sometimes the wizard and the rogue want to stand around and waste an hour of table time because they're afraid of crossing a river. But you don't give a shit. If they take more than 20 seconds, you're rolling to punch your way through the river. Much like the instigator, you want to move forward so that you can kill everything in the next room. Spells are a waste of time, and their overcomplicated mechanics can bog down precious combat time.
So I'm going to cast that spell.
Alright, yeah, go ahead.
Alright, so do you know how it works?
No, actually, tell me.
Okay, so first I have to take d20, and I need to roll it, and it's got to beat his armor class. But then he also has his spell save that I have to create on him. Now, if I beat that spell save, he's going to take half of 2d10, and if he does succeed, then he'll just take 2d6. Now, I have the special dice that I made for this spell that actually goes up to 32, and that makes it balanced because it's the equivalent of rolling 4d6. That gets half, and then he takes that in fire damage. If he's resistant to frost damage, he actually takes 1d8, 1d6, and a percentage. A percentage is rolled because the frostbite could possibly bring necrosis onto his skin, taking necrotic damage. If he's vulnerable to necrotic damage, then if there's necrotic damage being taken, he'll also take poison damage because he's taking damage because of his veins bursting inside of his arm. And that will hurt him a lot, especially if he's not immune to poison damage. Then there's an explosion. It's a 20-foot radius. Everybody in that radius has to make a dexterity saving throw.
And besides, why put points into thinking when you can carbo load your stat block? But please, be as smart as your 7 in intelligence allows, and don't Leroy Jenkins your way into the
dungeon of statistically certain death by several 100,000 spikes that crush you.
Another way you might get your party to legally disown you is by attacking an important NPC in the middle of his speech. Remember, there's a time and a place to punch things. If you're really avoiding role-playing because you don't feel confident with your characters, try starting out with a single aspect of who they are. Do they have catchphrases?
Alright, Jacob, how do you want to do this?
Alright, so I take my pink greatsword, my family heirloom. I stand over the top of him and I bring it down onto his skull, and the last thing he hears is Flamingo Bazingo!
Do they have someone or something they care about? Do they punch everything because, deep down inside, they're afraid of real human connection? One-liners, quirks, and deep personal flaws can help you enjoy the game between fights. As a note for DMs who want to keep their brawlers calm between those fights, make each round of combat exciting in its own way. Your brawler wants a challenge, and when they don't face a real threat, they might kill orphans to compensate. The best way to make a fight exciting is to describe it in detail.
As the shining blade soared through the air, a brief glint of sunlight only heightens its brilliance before the steel cuts through its target's flesh like a fish through a stream. Crimson ribbons spew from the freshly opened wound, and like a fountain falling from above, the head plummets to the earth before landing in the mud, defeated with a muffled thud. A body, like a castle having lost its king, follows the head to the ground below.
If you can't do that, some cool music and kobold battle tactics might work just as well. Now, we all know you're not supposed to step out of character and metagame, but as the Brawler, you should keep your DM in mind. If it seems like they put a lot of time and care into making an NPC that they enjoy, don't kill them on sight. Your DM is a player too, and they don't want you beating their story to a bloody pulp. Don't leave the game a bloody pulp.
Thank you to Turobot, Mad Harrier, Zazzy7011, Windshadow64, Tristan Balzer, Asher Gouger, Flopmind, JD160S, Joseph Herbert, and Ragin' Cajun Burn.